Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our player ratings from Harrogate Town 2, Bradford City 1. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to drop a like on there for me and get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Now this episode and kind of video of player ratings is going to be a little bit different. As you can see, I'm kind of in my normal setup rather than the usual player rating setup that we have, and that's because we're recording this on match day, not long after full time, and Korban has a bus to catch, so we don't have as long to film this episode. But obviously Korban joined me for the watch along, so make sure to go check that one out if you haven't already. But a really disappointing defeat, and kind of something that we've been coming to expect when we go to Harrogate. It's kind of the same old. We never really turn up. They turn up for these type of matches and we just don't really show them the respect that they deserve, and in the end we've come away from the match with what we deserve from it. We were absolutely terrible. We offered very little goal threat. Our goal is more of a mistake from Anthony O'Connor and a bit of brilliance from Andy Cook. Their two goals are so poor from us defensively, absolutely all over the place, and my player ratings are brutally honest. I'm sure Korban's not going to hold back whatsoever either, but on the whole, just sum that game up because it was absolutely terrible, wasn't it?
I wasted everyone's time. I think Alexander summed it up well in his post-match press conference interview with Jamie Rayner. Yeah, it was a dire game of football, and I think everyone watching will agree.
Let's get into some player ratings then. Starting out firstly with Sam Walker, one of the few players to come away from the game with any real credit. I've gone with a 6 out of 10. I'm thinking now maybe a little bit generous, but before we actually conceded our first goal, he made two really good saves. There was a one-on-one that he saved, and then just after there was a shot from, I think it was Liam Gibson. It was fairly straight at him, but there was a lot of power behind that, and they were two really good saves. I was actually really impressed with his distribution, to be fair. I've not been a massive fan of Walker's distribution so far, but there were a few times where he had the ball in his hands and he was drilling it out to either side on the fullbacks, but especially on our left hand side, and I was really impressed with that from Walker. I think he could maybe do a bit better with the second goal. It seems to go under him a little bit easy. The first goal I think he's got no chance for, but them two saves at the start of the game I thought were solid, and like I say, he can't really do much about the first goal, and I think I'm even being a bit harsh saying he should do better for the second goal, but his distribution was good. I can't give him much higher than a 6, so yeah, I'm going to go 6 out of 10 for Sam Walker.
I'm going to give Walker a 7 because I think, like you say, his distribution were great to either flank, and like I say, his distribution hasn't been too great so far in a City shirt, but much positives from that side of things, and he made a couple of good saves as well. Second goal, I'm not sure it's his fault. It's just a shame that it ended up in the back of the net through Diabate making 3 mistakes, giving the ball away, nearly giving a penalty away, and then losing his man in the box. Halliday, of course, making the big error. So there's many other people to blame for the goal, but he probably could have done better in hindsight as well. But yeah, I'll give him a 7 because it's a very solid goalkeeper performance from a poor outfield performance.
Let's move on then to Brad Halliday next. As you speak of him there, he was really poor again. I'm going 2 out of 10. I don't know what's going on with Brad Halliday so far this season, but he's been really poor, and this game he was terrible. Majorly at fault for the second goal. He gets done far too easily, and I said this on the watch along, very similar to Grimsby away for their second goal. Why have we not just taken one for the team and taken a cynical yellow? Your man's got past you, so just bring him down. He's outside the penalty area. It's obviously not dog, so you know you're not going to get a red card for that. I don't understand what Halliday was trying to do. He's got skinned far too easy, far too nice, and sometimes you've got to be horrible, and that was so poor from Halliday, and it means that obviously then a few players are having to come out of position. They eventually have a spare man in the middle, and so frustrating. But I think Halliday on the whole so far this season has been very underwhelming since his new contract. Today, or yesterday by the time you watch this video, he was absolutely terrible, so I'm going 2 out of 10. Not good enough.
What's a dog, sir?
Denial of a goal scoring opportunity.
Oh, well. So Halliday, he gets a 3 for me again. He was poor, and unfortunately at the start of this season it looks like he's lost a yard of pace, getting done constantly. We saw for the MK Dons goal, we saw for today. He had a terrible game against Grimsby away as well, and Walsall. So and when you see Jay Ben come on, and he put in a great couple of crosses into the right areas, bit of pace as well, and looks solid enough defensively. You know, he's got to be starting now on Saturday, and I think a bit of competition will be great for Halliday because I think he needs that bit of a boost. You know, last season we saw it with Hugo. Okay, granted, you know, it was only the start of the season, he kicked on throughout, but I think he needs a bit of competition. He needs a bit of time away from the team. He hasn't really had that for a couple of seasons now. So I think Jay Ben's got great competition with him, and his performance was absolutely diabolical, but not something we've been accustomed to of Brad Holiday, so hopefully he can get over it.
Yeah, and I think Jay Ben will start on Tuesday, and if he doesn't, that'd be a strange decision from Alexander, but he seemed to eventually kind of not just pick his favourites. We saw Kavanagh be dropped, we saw Tyrick Wright be dropped today as well, and throughout this season so far he has benched and dropped a few players who haven't been performing, and I would expect that to continue with Brad Holiday next. We'll move on to Cheick Diabate. I've gone with a 3 out of 10. I've been a big fan of Cheick Diabate so far, but today, especially in the first half, he looked half asleep, a number of stray passes, just kind of getting caught out of position, poor touches. I don't know what were going on with Cheick Diabate, but absolutely not good enough. The one-on-one that Harrogate had really early on in the game comes from him. I don't know if it's a poor touch or an under-hit pass. I don't know what he's trying to do, but really sloppy from Cheick Diabate. And like I say, I've been a big fan of him so far, and I know you obviously haven't been, and this kind of suits your agenda with Neil Byrne, but yeah, I thought he was really poor today and has to be better going forward. We saw how amazing he was against Wimbledon. In this match, I thought he was really poor. So to get a 9.5 last week and then only 7 days later to get a 3, it shows how inconsistent that this side is. So I'm going to go with a 3 out of 10. I thought he was really poor.
He gets a 1 for me. I don't really think I can name anything he did particularly well. I think the Harrogate Town commentator were quite fond of Diabate, but I don't know what game he watching. He must have been getting him confused with players because, like I say, his distribution was shocking. I don't mind, not knocking it down the channel, but it's got to be in the right area, and a few times it was too short or too long of being in the right area. There were a couple that he played down there. Aerially, he seemed to get lost and bullied a few times, let the ball bounce two times often. He got done on his right side by losing the ball, and he just didn't look like he were awake today. It looked like we got him out of bed and he had his pyjamas on, his dressing gown. He had a couple of Werther's originals, and he had woolly socks on. He was like an old man as well. He was absolutely diabolical. And I know I've been praising Neil Byrne. I feel like he's a bang average League 2 player who doesn't make too many mistakes, and that's why I like him. I liked Matty Platt as well at the beginning when a lot of people didn't, and they came round to that. And I feel like people will with Neil Byrne, but that's not the point. I praised Diabate last Saturday when he had a great game against Wimbledon, and today he was absolutely shocking. I wouldn't want nothing more than him to have scored today, and we got a clean sheet, and he had another 9 out of 10 performance, but he didn't. And just because it's fashionable to say Diabate is good and Neil Byrne isn't, I'm not going to be doing that. He was absolutely shocking today, and hopefully Neil Byrne's fit so he can play on Saturday, Tuesday, whenever it is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I do think Diabate was really poor. Jack Shepherd is up next then. I'm going with a 3.5 out of 10. I thought he was ever so slightly better than Cheick Diabate, but still nowhere near good enough. I don't think either of the goals are really his fault, but I just think sometimes with a centre-half, is your positioning good enough to be getting the blocks in for the shots, especially that first goal. Could Shepherd have maybe done a little bit better to move himself in front of the goal? Potentially. Again, though, I think I'm really nitpicking there. I just think he was poor. When you concede 2 goals away from home inside the first 20 minutes or so, just absolutely not good enough. We were miles off it, and I think the thing that frustrated me most with Shepherd is the amount of balls he was just playing straight out of play or straight out for goal kicks. He's trying to clip them in behind, and he's massively overhitting them. It was so frustrating. I gave him a 10 last week. This week he's getting a 3.5 because it just goes to show how inconsistent these sides are, and when 1 or 2 players play poorly or have an off day, particularly Richie Smallwood, the whole seems to do so. And it's now our last 3 league away games where we've massively struggled. We've lost them all 2-1, all of them in different circumstances, but the amount of times where we're going 1-0 down inside the first half an hour, 2-0 down before the 50th minute, it's simply not good enough. It's happened far too often so far this season, and Jack Shepherd frustrated me a lot today, so I'm giving him a 3.5 out of 10.
He gets 2 better than Diabate because he won a few more aerial duels and looked a bit more combative, but at the same time he looks very lightweight, and again another one letting balls bounce in the channel, and he got bullied a couple of times for them to get him behind. But what I would say is from what I've read, he did seem to have had a bit of a knock and were playing through it from an injury that he had in the first half. So I suppose that would explain a few of his stray passes and a bit of his poor performance. But at the same time, injury or not, it was poor. And unfortunately, like you said, inconsistencies running through this team. we're about as inconsistent as the sun. We're popping in and out all the time. We need a full 90 minutes of a great performance, and we haven't had that yet this season, and it's getting concerning now because it's happening week after week.
Lewis Richards is up next then, very similar to Jack Shepherd. I don't think he was awful, but I don't think he was particularly amazing. I'm going 3.5 out of 10. Going forward, I thought his crosses were quite poor. They were very good against Mansfield, and I thought he had a solid start in the game against Wimbledon, but yesterday, I just didn't see enough from him going forward. The end product was not there. That pass that he did late on in the game, there was about 30 seconds left. It's a simple 10-yard pass out wide to Tyrick Wright. He massively overhits it and straight out of play, and he never looks comfortable really with the ball at his feet. I don't think defensively he was awful. Yes, the first goal kind of comes down his side, but I don't think he's to blame for that whatsoever. It's just poor marking from our midfielders. On the whole though, for me, I thought he was just not amazing, so I can't give anyone many good ratings because I don't think anyone particularly played well, and he's going to get a 3.5 out of 10 from me.
3, like you say, his attacking output's absolutely shocking, and for that way kicked out of play. I mean, it's just lazy. It's switching off at a key moment in the game, and it does that all the time, and it's massively frustrating. And apart from that, going forward, like I say, defensively, I don't think he had too much to do. It were more down Brad Allardyce's side, and second half they didn't really trouble us. It were mainly us retaining the ball. So, like I say, attacking wise, he's poor. His crossing's poor, and the epitome with that error that he made at the last minute of the game.
Let's move on to our midfield next, starting out with the right midfielder in Jamie Walker. I was surprised to see Alexander start Walker on the right and Poynton on the left. I thought it would have been the other way around, considering both players like to come inside into midfield. So I do think that it was quite a strange move from Alexander. He brought Walker straight into the side, dropped Tyrick Wright down to the bench. I'm going 3 out of 10 for Jamie Walker. What did he do apart from pick up a stupid booking? There was no need to really commit that foul, and once again he finds himself yellow carded for just a really, really silly booking, and he probably should have been sent off, to be fair. In the second half he made a foul which was quite cynical, quite late. It wasn't an awful tackle, but it was just clumsy, and I think he probably should have. I think if he hadn't have been booked, he would have then been booked for that. So I know the tolerance for a second yellow is slightly higher, but I think subbing him off was the right decision because he is a red card waiting to happen. And I just think on the ball, can't really think of anything that he did, in all honesty. Lack of end product going forward, and I think he looked a little bit unfit. I know obviously he didn't play it last weekend, but he just didn't really look fully match fit for me, and I don't think his game sharpness was fully there. He was very good in the previous couple of matches that he'd started, obviously back-to-back assists against Carlisle and Walsall. In this one, I think he was very ineffective, so I'm going 3 out of 10.
I'll go 5. I think it can take Jamie Walker a couple of games to get full up to speed, like we've seen today, and he looked off it isolated. He ain't a right winger, he ain't a winger at all. He's an all-action player. He wants to be in the centre of the pitch, he wants to be pressing their centre-backs. For me, in my opinion, he'd be more effective playing alongside Andy Cook and just dropping off a bit like Ollie Sanderson does. He'd be more effective in there and gets more involved. On the right wing, didn't have much to do, don't have much to say about him, so I'll just give him a 5.
Richie Smallwood is up next then. I'm going with a 3 out of 10 again for Smallwood. It always seems to be whenever he has a bad game, the entire team has a bad game, and that's a bit of a concern for me because against Grimsby he was poor, against Walsall he was poor, in this one against Harrogate he was poor, and it seems to for some reason affect the whole team. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but whenever he has a bad game, the entire team seems to have a bad game. In the first half there were just a few times where he got bypassed far too easily in that midfield. There were a few sloppy passes as well, giving it away in quite silly areas. Second half thought he was fairly average, didn't really notice him too much, to be fair. I would have probably subbed him off rather than Patterson, as I feel like we needed a bit of attacking creativity when you're 2-0 down, and he wasn't really offering us much defensively, so I didn't really like that change from Alexander. I don't think Patterson did much wrong, in all honesty, but Smallwood I thought quite had another bad game, which is the 3rd or 4th time this season we've already said that, which is frustrating because at home he's very good, and away at MK Dons he was outstanding, but this past couple of away games I do think he has been quite poor, so I'm going 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll go 3 as well. Like I say, when Richie Smallwood don't play well, we don't play well. He pulls us out from the pits when we're struggling. He pulls everyone together, but recently he hasn't been doing that because his performances haven't been able to match that either. Like I say, his passing was absolutely terrible. We got outrun in midfield, and that's what a 4-4-2 brings. You've got to be compact in there, and we want. And I think fatigue's playing a big issue in Smallwood. Again, a bit like Brad Allardy, played a lot of games last season, come straight into another season. In his position, no competition. There's no replacement for Richie Smode if he's injured, if he's fatigued. Like I think that there can be a bit of that in there when he's playing in, you know, the crappy cup trophies on a Tuesday night, then he's playing on another Saturday night, Tuesday night again on Tuesday. So yeah, for the people who are saying, you know, Small needs to come out the team and this and that, he ain't going to come out the team because there's no replacement for him, and I think that's another area where we probably recruited wrong. But in terms of this game, didn't lead well, and leadership's his main trait, and that wasn't there to see, so I'd give him a 3.
The frustration for me with Smallwood is that obviously we were told throughout the summer that we've got players who can play there, the likes of Patterson, Adore, Joe Adams as well, although from what I've seen of Joe Adams, obviously we're not going to see him again in a Bradford City shirt. For those who didn't see, he did suffer an ACL injury against the AFC Wimbledon, so that's probably his season done for us, so best wishes to him, because for a young player that can kill a career, but he was definitely never going to be a number 6. Clark Adore is a very different type, and I just feel like we needed another ball winner. Patterson can do that job, but he's miles better playing as a number 8, if not a number 10. I think as a number 10 he'll be one of the best in the league, but we're restricting him and playing him in a 4-4-2 in a central midfield partnership, which I know we've got injuries and stuff, but that is still quite frustrating to see. And obviously, speaking of Alex Patterson, I'm going to go 4 out of 10. I don't think he was particularly amazing, I don't think he was particularly bad, I can't really tell you much he did in the game, but being ineffective is much better than being poor in the game, and I feel like it was harsh to bring him off at half time. He played a nice ball through to Andy Cook, who had a pretty tame effort in the first half from about 20-25 yards out. Apart from that, can't really think of much that Patterson did in the game. Yes, he needs to get involved more, but I'd rather play a bit ineffective and do the basics okay than poor, like a number of the players were, and I feel like his legs and energy in that midfield and combativeness would have been better than Smallwood, who was just looking a little bit fatigued and off the pace, and when Smallwood gets beaten, it then takes him a while to get back in. It's a very slow jog, it's more like a fast walk, whereas Patterson has that tenacity to just get straight back behind the ball. So I'm going to go 4 out of 10 for Alex Patterson.
Patterson 6, give a bit of energy, unfair to come off, but you know, didn't contribute much when he won the pitch either, so I'll give him a 5 actually. I'll go against what I said, I'm a bit of a liar. Yeah, underwhelmed with everyone, and Patterson I was as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I disagree with that. Bobby Poynton is up next then. I'm going 3 out of 10. In that first half, I thought he was quite poor, and I think a lot of people agreed in the watch-along that he should have come off at half-time. I was surprised to see him stay on for as long as what he did. I think he got 65, 70 minutes again, and I think Poynton this season has been far better and much more impactful as a substitute, and when he started games, I think he's looked poor. Even in the game against Bromley where he scored, I think he was quite poor in there, but he's simply not a winger. He hasn't got the pace, he hasn't got the physicality to play on the wing. He's much more of a technician, and he has to play in central midfield. He has to be in the middle of the park because he hasn't got the pace, he hasn't got the physicality, and we saw him a number of times lose the ball due to his lack of strength, and so frustrating. But I think we're putting a bit too much pressure on him at the moment. Yes, I don't want to treat him like a baby just because he's a Bradford City fan, but at the end of the day, it's only his second full season in professional football, and to be starting him constantly week after week after a big physical battle last week to then come into this one against Harrogate, I wasn't concerned that he started the match, but I just think we do have to factor in his workload. But again, it comes down to player availability with the amount of injuries we've got, and we're trying to play a formation with wingers when we got rid of our only real winger in Adam Wilson. Frustrating to see, but I think when the injuries start to come back, we'll probably go back to the back three. We can see Poynton back in that midfield, but I thought he was ineffective, poor on the ball, didn't maintain it well enough, and I think he got bullied quite a lot in that midfield, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd give him a 3 as well. He did look like a man running around with boys.
A boy running around with men.
Yeah, he looked like a man,
a boy,
whatever it bloody is. He looked like a boy running around with men. That's it. So yeah, he was ineffective. He didn't contribute anything. Got bullied off the ball, and we're seeing that time and time again, unfortunately. League 2 football, is it for a player like Bobby Point? I'm not sure. Definitely Alexander's system, I don't think suits him, to be honest with you. It's you know, you've got to be strong, you've got to be quick, especially if you're playing in those areas, and he isn't that, unfortunately. So yeah, I think he's really struggling with that. Like I said, a workload as well. Does he need a couple of games out from the team? Definitely. But it's funny, isn't it, how, you know, you go back to last March and the fans are crying out for Poynton to be starting, and Alexander just won't give him a chance, and that we're going for a couple of months, and then he gets his chance in April, and you know, it's, you know, we've proved we proved him wrong. Whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I think the disappointing thing is that last season when we went on the really good run, it was when we had Poynton and Jamie Walker playing as the two number 8s, and I think I'm right in saying they haven't played together so far this season in any match, apart from maybe pre-season, in them positions, which is disappointing because we saw how good they were there last season.
Yeah, their energy, the enthusiasm and their endeavour that linked up well, and the creativity, you know, there were a really good partnership forming there, and like you said, unfortunately we haven't seen it, but yeah, it's funny how time changes in football, and now you've got the fans saying, you know, Poynton needs time away from the team, whereas back in March we were saying, you know, he needs to be in the team as quick as possible.
But I think that comes down to form. Like when fans were asking for Poynton to be starting back in March, it was because players ahead of him were playing poorly, and we knew what Poynton could offer. Right now, Poynton isn't offering that, so other players do deserve a chance. But who else are you going to play over Poynton? Tyreek Wright? I'd still much rather Bobby Poynton play, to be honest. But we'll move on to our two strikers next then. Starting out firstly with Andy Cook. I've gone with a 6 out of 10. Again, one of the very few players to come away from the game with any real credit. But again, we come away from the game thinking, where on earth will we be over the last 3.5 years without Sir Andrew Ellis-Cook? Gets another goal. I think that's 5 or 6, maybe 6 in all competitions now, 4 in the league I do believe, which is obviously great for him. Well taken goal, not really a goal we've come to see from Andy Cook. Obviously he tackles Anthony O'Connor on around the halfway line, drives forward on the left foot. You think he might have taken it a little bit wide, but he finishes beautifully on the left foot into the bottom corner, and like I say, not really a goal we've come to expect from Andy Cook. He normally is in and around the box waiting to poach, but a well taken goal in all honesty, and I feel like his link up play at times was okay. He got not a lot from the officials. Again, he should have had a penalty in that second half, and once again he gets assaulted by the centre-halves and absolutely nothing gets given for him. The referee was an absolute joke, especially in that second half. He was absolutely awful, but Andy Cook, I thought, again, one of the few players to come away from the game with any real credit, so I'm going 6 out of 10.
You think a 6 is a bit harsh?
I can't give I can't give him higher than a 6. I think apart from the goal, he wasn't amazing, but it was a brilliantly taken goal.
Well, I'm giving him an 8 because, like you say, it was a well taken goal. It could have been a goal that changed the course of the game if we hadn't started so poorly, and it just took us too long to get back into a game from them. Latched onto the mistake, great pressing and intelligence to step in. Good finish as well, like you say, I haven't seen him score too many like those. He's normally an instinctive striker. And with, like I say, everyone's coming away from the game saying, "Oh, Andy Cook, the legend, you know, he's scoring. Where would we be without him?" The same thing we say every weekend. And for me, that's what's so special about him. You know, it's just a shame that we haven't got a squad of players who can pull along together with him, and we can just get a consistent performing team with Andy Cook at the top, who is Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable, and he comes up with the goals again. Like I say, the referee was shocking. He had so many fouls that weren't given towards him that should have been. He got absolutely manhandled. A few of the Harrogate Town centre-backs, you know, it looked like they were performing for WWE with how they were manhandling Andy Cook, and he got nothing all game. Should have had a penalty. And for me, for his resilience and his mentality to keep battling through it and to be our only light in a dark day, for me, it gets an 8.
Let's move on to Ollie Sanderson next. I don't think we'll spend long on Sanderson. I'm going 3.5 out of 10. I think, again, very ineffective. I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, even when he were getting goal contributions, that apart from that, he wasn't really doing much. And the only thing I can really remember is he dropped in deep once and passed the ball straight to a Harrogate player. That's about it. He's not doing enough. He was rightfully subbed at half-time. I don't think the other options, though, are particularly better. I don't think we're far away from seeing Tyler Smith start a league game, in all honesty, because the Andy Cook partners are not really offering enough. I like Sanderson. I like the goal contributions I've seen from him so far, but he's not affecting the play enough throughout the 90 minutes. I think you suggested on the live stream about maybe seeing Walker starting up front, which is concerning considering we've got 6 strikers. Yes, one's out on loan with Kidderminster at the moment, who did score today, so well done to Harry Ibbotson, but the fact that we've got 4 other options and none of them are really contributing enough in terms of overall play. Yes, Sanderson was getting the odd goal contribution here and there, but I need to see more of him in terms of link-up play to take a bit of pressure and a bit of physical pressure off of Andy Cook. Wasn't good enough and wasn't effective enough, so I'm going 3.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll go for it. Didn't notice him too much when he won the pitch. When he came off the pitch, you wouldn't have noticed that he started the game. Yeah, very ineffective. Didn't get involved. Did we do enough to create for him? Did we do enough to supply? No, we didn't. But, you know, 100% better than Tyler Smith. I don't know how you could possibly think that man can start for us again after last season.
No, I definitely would agree that Smith is better. No, I definitely would agree Sanderson is better, but if Sanderson's not affecting the play, then I don't think he could really complain if he does find himself out of the team every now and again. He worked really hard to get himself into it, but from what we've seen recently, he's just not affecting it enough, and you need strikers to be effective at the top end of the pitch.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. Let's move into our substitutions then. Starting out firstly with Clark Adoy. He was at one point the only legitimate substitution we were going to make at half-time. We did make a triple change, although only 2 of them were official. We'll get onto that in a moment. Adoy gets a 5 out of 10 for me. I thought he was positive when he came on. He kept the ball well. I was surprised to see him come on as a central midfielder in a 4-4-2, but I don't think he really looked out of place. Like I say, I don't think Patterson coming off was the right decision. I'd have liked to have seen Patterson and Adoy in there, 2 very good technical players. Patterson can do that defensive side if you need him to. He was absolutely cleaned out about 20 yards out from goal, and for some reason the referee didn't give anything for it. I think we had a cross into the box maybe, but I thought Adoy gave us a little bit of oomph going forward. Sometimes I'd like to see him take players on a bit more, or maybe play a few more forward passes, but I thought he kept the ball well, looked tidy, not amazing, not massively impressive, but considering the standard of a lot of players in this game, I think he does deserve a little bit of credit, so I'm going 5 out of 10.
He made an impact, like I say, kept all the ball, sometimes a positive or a negative, because sometimes going to it back and using your strength can slow the tempo down, and that's certainly what's been labelled at odd half throughout his time at Bradford City. But he kept the ball ticking, and that's something we didn't do in the first half. We give the ball away too sloppily. So I think it was type of game, he could have impacted it. So yeah, it was bright coming off the bench and something that we can take as a positive.
Speaking of the non-legitimate substitutions, Jay Ben came on for Brad Halliday at half-time, but he never actually officially came on because we saw Clark Adoy come onto the pitch. Callum Kavanagh was waiting on the pitch to come on, and then the 4th official referee called him over to then officially substitute him on. Nothing ever happened with Jay Ben. It was only about 2 or 3 minutes into the second half where you actually pointed out, oh, Jay Ben's on the pitch as well. Nobody had any idea. He came on for Brad Halliday, but I'm glad and thankful that he did come on. He was probably my man of the match. I'm going 7 out of 10. It was brilliant to see somebody down that right hand side whipping balls into the box, and the standard of some of them crosses as well was very good. I've been very impressed so far with Jay Ben. I don't think he's had a bad game in the minutes that he's had, but off the bench today I thought he was really, really good. He should definitely start on Tuesday for me. I'll be very disappointed if Halliday does start, whether it's in a back 4 or as a back 3. Jay Ben has done enough now to warrant that opportunity to start a league game for Bradford City. I've gone 7 out of 10 because I think he was really good, and I'd like to see him start on Tuesday.
Yeah, 7 as well from me. I basically mentioned what my thoughts on him when I spoke about Brad Halliday, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. But one thing I'm concerned about is that rating of yours, that you give Jay Ben a substitute for 45 minutes, who did well, yeah, a couple of good crosses, but you know, not all great, but good crosses nevertheless. One whole rating, because you do the halves, of 1 whole rating higher than Andy Cook, who scored a solo goal all for himself and won a penalty.
Well, he didn't win a penalty, did he?
In my mind, he did.
No, but you're basing your ratings on things that haven't happened. Because I could say, well, Jay Ben, in my mind, scored 3 goals today.
Come on.
Well, that's what I could do, so I'll give him a 10. Yeah, Jay Ben gets a 10.
Well, no, you're being facetious now. He didn't have 3 shots that could have been a goal. He had a foul that should have been a penalty.
I thought Jay Ben was really, really good, and the standard of Halliday, I think, comes into play, but Cook, for me, apart from the goal, didn't do enough, was bullied a little bit. Yes, the referee should do more for him, but I think he could throw his weight around a little bit more. But again, it comes down to Alexander playing him as a target man. Cook's never really been a target man.
So you're talking about the quality of Brad Halliday enhancing the rating of Jay Ben, but the quality of Ollie Sanderson does not enhance the rating of Andy Cook.
Correct.
And Callum Kavanagh.
Correct.
Yeah, are you okay?
Andy Cook has set the standard up here.
Right.
So for Andy Cook standards, this is a 6 out of 10.
Really?
For Jay Ben standards, it's a 7 out of 10.
Well, yeah, but you don't know Jay Ben standards.
Well, I do. I've seen him play a couple of times. Let's move on to Callum Kavanagh, unless you've got anything else to add.
Well, not
Let's move on to Callum Kavanagh. He's getting a 4 out of 10 from me. I thought he started out brightly, first 20-25 minutes that he was on the pitch for. Obviously, he came on at half-time for Sanderson, but after that, faded in the game, and we saw that poor Callum Kavanagh we've seen for quite a lot so far this season come through into his performance. So a few sloppy passes and bad touches as well, which was quite frustrating. And I don't think he was awful, which he has been for quite a lot so far this season, but I don't think he was really much of a goal threat, so I'm going to go 4 out of 10. Am I right in saying Kavanagh used to play for Harrogate? Did have a loan spell there? I knew he was
Yeah.
at Newport, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
he's been to Harrogate as well, didn't he?
Good ball knowledge, that. For me, why are you doing that? Giving him a 4?
Because I don't think he was awful.
No, but you said that J Ben gets a whatever you give him, 7, right? Out because Andy Cook's average is a 6.
Yeah, for Callum Kavanagh, that was a 4.
No, but for Callum Coventry's standard performance, it's normally a 4. So I think you should up it because that was
No, but
better
that's
than
that's
his
based on
average.
a much smaller percentage. You know what I mean? And Andy Cook scored goals for fun for us, and I'm still giving Andy Cook 2 whole higher ratings than Kavanagh.
Well, because he scored, should have had a penalty and won a load of fouls.
We didn't win any fouls, did he? The referee gave him the other way.
Well, exactly, you got manhandled.
Right.
There you go. You agree with me?
Thoughts on Kavanagh?
I have none. He gets whatever. I don't do these ratings. For me, he
He
should
came
get.
on at half time. If you're giving Sanderson a rating, Kavanagh's technically played more.
He went in the starting lineup.
But Kavanagh played more football than Sanderson.
Well, I didn't have a lot to say about Sanderson, did I? Really?
So Kavanagh, did he get anything?
Look better than normal, but you know he's not normal. No, I'm joking. He's fine. I like him as a person, but as a footballer,
Have you met him?
no,
No, never have I.
no.
Watch his TikTok live streams though.
Well, I've never watched them, but they seem good.
I think he's watched the videos before actually.
Who's?
Well, mine obviously.
Yeah.
You have no idea who you are.
No.
I don't think he'll be watching this one. though.
Involved nicked his hair.
I don't think he's a more SHD fan.
No. Who is?
That's a very good point. We've not done any comments of the week, but they'll be for whenever we next do one of these because we're very, very busy today. Tyreek Wright up next then.
We have a question of the week, which is, what milk do you buy at the shop? Now, you've got oat milk, you've got red, orange milk, there might be a red milk, there's a green...
You mean red top?
Yeah.
The milk's not actually red.
No. Although, you might like blood. You can have blue milk, you can have creamy milk, you can have nutty milk, you can have many different milks, breast milk.
That's not up there for me.
It's not up there.
No, not for me.
Bank your milk.
Excuse me?
What?
No, it's green milk for me.
Green.
Green, yeah. Semi-skimmed. From Asda. Anywhere else it's a bit... Like the cows had a bad stomach. So Asda for me.
Yeah, but the cow ain't from Iceland.
But it could be.
Well, yeah, it could be. But it ain't from Morrison's, is it?
I don't know, they might just have them out the back and they just...
Milk the cow.
Yeah. You ever milked a cow?
No,
No, never have I.
haven't you?
That's another question. Have you ever milked a cow?
Yeah. Well, we'll probably have Jeremy Clark's in the comments going, I am working on the farm at the minute.
If I could get Jeremy Clarkson on the player ratings, you'd be straight out.
No.
No?
No.
What would you do? Just stand right here, right in
Yeah.
front of us both?
We'll have a threesome. Me, you and Jeremy Clarkson. How's about that?
No?
No?
Tyreek Wright though?
He don't get in the
No,
threesome.
not for a reason, for his player rating.
Oh, right. Yeah, he... what are you giving him?
I've given him a 4.
Oh, yeah, I'll agree.
I don't think he really did much in the game. When he came onto the pitch, we played a little game on the watch along saying, can we see Tyreek Wright play a forward pass? Did he achieve it? No. No, he did not.
Did he not?
No, he didn't.
No, I forgot about the game.
Yeah, poor, not good enough. Well, I don't even think I agree with that myself. He just didn't do enough, really, in the game. Not awful, but just needs to do more, so yeah, he's going to get a 4. Oliver came on for like the last 10 minutes for Jamie Walker. I think we changed formation, went to a 3-4-1-2 at that point. We had Cook and Oliver up top, we had Kavanagh in the 10, and then we didn't decide to go direct. We've gone direct all game. As soon as Oliver comes on, we started passing sideways, side to side. Didn't really do much with it. Oliver gets a 4, just didn't really do a lot. I'm sure you got loads to say on Oliver.
None. One revelation that I did find out was when you said Ollie for Ollie Sanderson was that Ollie is short for Oliver. So I didn't know. So that was something that I took. That Ollie Sanderson and Vidane Oliver have sort of similar names. I didn't know that.
If there is any Ollie or Olivers watching, let us know what do you prefer. Do you prefer Ollie or do you prefer Oliver? I feel like Oliver's like if you're being told off. Like, Oliver, get down them stairs.
Yeah.
Get down these stairs. Right now.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
Was he called Ollie?
Oliver Twist.
Ah, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well,
I had to do that in a production, and that was my line. It was
that was the only thing you said.
Yeah. Well, me and 4 others. We were all
What,
playing.
all four of you were playing Oliver Twist?
Yeah. Well, you see,
That must have been produced worse than this series.
well, apparently they got in this big guy called, well, not big, he wasn't a big guy, he was actually very slim, he was called Simon, but he was like a big guy in the production area, and he came in and he said, well, basically I didn't have much confidence, so I said, just give me one line, so I got one line, and that was it, please sir, can I have some more?
My line for this week is stick with Alexander, who we will move on to next. I'm very good at these segues, aren't I? 5 out of 10 for me. I had no complaints with the starting 11. I had no complaints with the substitutions. And I think Alexander comes out in his post-match. He's once again not pulling the wool over the fans' eyes. He's honest in what he says. And I was surprised he didn't criticise the referees again. You know, the fans were singing... Graham's right, the refs are shite. Again, he was really poor. We factor in the injuries, and as I'm sure you all know, I'm not a happy clapper whatsoever. But I think this season, because I've kind of forgotten about Bradford City, like I really don't care, taking the emotion out of it makes it much easier to actually back a manager. And I didn't look at the performance today and think Alexander needs to do more. Yes, the style of play at times was frustrating, but what more can Alexander do to stop the goals that happen? You know, the second goal is a big error from Brad Halliday. The first goal is just poor marking from the midfield. There's not really much Alexander can do. He can't physically stop the game, move Small to go mark the goal scorer, move Shepherd further along in the goal. It comes down to individual moments. There's only so much a manager can do, and there's been a fair few people on social media calling for Alexander's head already. For me personally, I don't think we're at that stage yet. I don't think we're going to be near it for a while, in all honesty. We have to stick with a manager. Pretty much every team has been promoted out of this league since we got into it has had their manager for at least a full season. We need to stick with Alexander, in my opinion. I don't put the majority of the blame on him today. As always, he's got to take some blame. He's the manager, he's the leader at the end of the day, but I think the players needed to wake up much better in that first 30 minutes. Again, could we put that down to Alexander? Could we put it down to the people doing the warm-ups and all that sort of stuff? But I don't think they looked motivated enough in that first 30 minutes or so, or they didn't respect Harrogate enough. Alexander was saying they did everything and prepared them perfectly for the game on Wednesday, and they just didn't take it into the game. If they're doing the preparation right, Alexander can't physically play the game for them. So for me personally, I'm not calling for Alexander's head as of right now, and I think I give him a 5 out of 10 for this game.
I won't be calling for his head until at least, I don't know. Well, it depends how bad it gets, really. You know, if we're going to lose our next 6 games, we're in a relegation battle, it's serious stuff. We won't do that. I can guarantee, I'll bet me, I'll bet you bottom dollar, because I don't have dollars. So, I'm betting nothing, really. But it sounds like a lot, doesn't it? I'll give Alexander a 6. We need to stick together. I don't think, like you said, he has anything to do with that result. We were too deep for the goals, and you can blame Alexander for that if you'd like to, but I wouldn't, because I think it comes down to a mentality problem of the players again. We've had it for years now. I think the players need to take accountability, and the players take none. We sack the manager, the players go, new players come in, we sack the manager, new players go, and it's just a revolving door of rubbish. And Alexander's got the right mentality to get these players performing in the way that he likes, and the way I like, and the way most of you like as well. The majority of our fans like to see the way Alexander sets up his teams. And if these haven't got the mentality to carry that out on a Saturday, like he's basically called them out without doing a Derek Adams style, then let's see action, because these players need to be put up against the wall, not shot, but shouted at very aggressively, and maybe let's get a hand towards the throat as well. Let's get some action towards them, because they need to wake up. The first 20 minutes there were loads of players walking around, pottering about, looking lethargic, looking like they couldn't be bothered, and like I said earlier, it looked like they got out of bed, which is absolutely diabolical for a set of professional players to be in that manner, and that's not on the manager. Yes, you can say, well, it's his job to motivate the players, but the players have to motivate themselves. They've got to take that accountability. You motivate yourself to go to work in the morning. Why can't these players? You don't have your manager giving you a team talk before the game, do you? Well, not before the game, but before you set into work on a Monday morning. You don't. So these players need to take accountability now. It's not an Alexander. He's the right man for us, and it is completely wrong to be calling for his head so early on in the season when you've seen the revolving door managers.
I think Alexander has said in the past that what more motivation do you need than to go out and play football. There's 3 points on the line. There's over 1,000 Bradford fans that have travelled. Yes, it's not the biggest journey, but considering some of the away performances we've seen so far this season, conveniently all the league away games that I've not been to, then it's not really. I think sometimes it does get taken for granted, the support that Bradford City fans have. I know it's kind of one of the things that the players all speak about when they sign. They know it's such a big fan base and delighted to be and play, can't wait to play in front of the fans. But a lot of them sometimes don't like they can really be bothered. Like the performance we saw today, were they really motivated by the amount of fans were there, or was it just again another soundbite piece? But I think Alexander comes out and he always speaks very well in post-match interviews, and he's come out and criticised the team as a collective, but he's not going to come out at that game and when he's talking and criticising, he's obviously not speaking about Andy Cook there, who's been excellent again, got us back into the game. I wouldn't say he's necessarily speaking about Sam Walker or Jay Ben, but if he comes out and speaks about individuals like Brad Halliday, Chet Diabate, whoever for example, then that's how you can lose the dressing room. We saw that with Derek Adams, but you still have to be honest at times and criticise your team, which we didn't really see from the likes of Gary Bowyer. And I think he's honest, but I think he goes about it the right way. You can tell I think he's very experienced with that, and I definitely still do believe in Alexander. I think I'd replace the players before I replace Graham Alexander, and again we're only 8 games into the season. Look at the teams who've been promoted in the past. Stockport didn't start amazing last season, Mansfield a few seasons before that didn't start amazing and managed to get into the playoffs. So I think things take time, and yes, we've got injuries, we're playing a formation we've not played for quite a while. Yes, it's kind of fairly new to us recently, but I think there's still a lot of positive signs there going forward, and obviously we have been quite solid at home so far this season, still unbeaten there in the league, so no major concerns, although away from home it is disappointing. I think we'll come to see how we get on at full time against Morecambe on Tuesday. We actually watched that game after the Bradford game, and Morecambe looked defensively okay going forward. I don't think they were much of a threat, but they're going to play a lot of defenders. They're probably going to try man for man. I think they had 5 fullbacks start in this game, but they've got a number of our former players, Luke Hendry, Jan Songo, Liangle, just to name a few. Obviously Derek Adams as well, and obviously they beat us 3-0 there last season, so we're going to need to go there and put on a show. But overall this match was really disappointing. Same old. Have you got any final things to add before we end?
Well, some of us came to my mind there when you talk about motivating the players. It were a derby today. Whatever you want to say, it's not a rivalry, it's a derby. You've got to get yourself up for that. Maybe the fans don't feel that same edge, but you as players, you've got to pull yourself together, and you've got to feel like it's a derby. You've got to want it to be a derby. You've got to be up for the derby, and the want. And too many times we've had that. Bradford City v Harrogate. I think we massively underappreciate and give a lack of respect to Harrogate. Do a derby, and we need to be up for these games more often.
I think as well with the Harrogate game, obviously they've got a number of our former players, so they've kind of got a point to prove. Yes, the likes of Matty Folds, Matty Daly were injured in this game, but we saw Anthony O'Connor, Levi Sutton, for example. They have the motivation, but then on the flip side, we've got Lewis Richards, we've got Alex Patterson, we've got Callum Kavanagh. Surely these players will have played in this derby before and know what it's like from the other side of it, and be able to spread that around the dressing room, what it means to Harrogate to beat a club like Bradford City, because it is their biggest game of the season and they always turn up in it. We don't. We need to make every game the biggest game of our season, but unfortunately we just don't do that. So yeah, really frustrating, but we have gone on for a little bit longer than what we actually expected in today's video. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Go check out Korban's channel. Link as always will be down in the description down below, and hopefully we can bounce back on Tuesday, because today or yesterday was simply not good enough.